All right, I got the thumbs up from the booth. Everything's good, sorted out, ready to go? Fantastic. Nobody ring the dinner bell today. You think we got any scragglers out there that need to get chased in? All right. Good morning, class. I don't schedule how these weeks are going to line up, right? We just study what we study, and then that's fine, right? Well, I'm sad to say, I, it is my duty to report to you that today, on Mother's Day, we're going to read a story about a mother behaving badly. That's fine. That's fine. It's just all part of the story. Um, we are studying the book of Genesis, as you well know. Hopefully, you know that by now. We've been doing this for a while. Um, and in broad brushes, I got to keep making the brush broader because we just keep adding more story. We begin with creation and everything is good. And then through Adam and Eve's disobedience, sin enters into the world, and then everything is not good. And immediately God sets into motion and promises a plan of salvation, right? And that specifically, a descendant from Eve would crush the serpent's head, right? Did they know what that meant? I doubt it. I doubt it, right? But we, with the virtue of hindsight, do know what it means. So you can say that we are tracing the lineage of Messiah starting with Adam and Eve. In the first generation, there is discord between brothers. Cain kills his brother Abel because he is jealous of the relationship, the favor that Abel is enjoying with God. And it seemed, as I read the story, it seemed to me that God would have been pleased to offer favor also to Cain. He called Cain to repentance, but Cain did not heed repentance. Instead, he took vengeance. Vengeance isn't even really the right word because Abel really never wronged him. He just committed gross violence against his brother and killed him. And so the first family was broken. The lineage of Messiah would not come through Cain, nor would it come through Abel. Adam and Eve had a third son named Seth, and the lineage of Messiah would be reckoned through him. I'm going to keep talking about Messiah. That word won't come up for a long time. But again, we've seen the whole story, so we can kind of use that foreknowledge in our retelling of the story. We follow through the lineages of Cain and Seth in rapid fashion, up to and including the lineage through Noah. Noah was the only righteous man in his generation, or ostensibly so. It got bad. Mankind was so evil that God regretted ever making mankind. And it said that, they're only ever violent, just all the time. And so God sends a flood to wipe out all that wickedness. But he preserves Noah and his family and enough animals to get creation going again without having to, make everything from scratch. After the flood, Noah and his family set about putting the pieces of the world back together. But even then, one of Noah's sons acts in a dishonorable way. We don't need to go through that whole story again. And his other brothers are not amused. And there's, again, within that first generation post-flood, fracturing of the relationships, and a hierarchy is emerging where that 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 one son will never lord over the other ones, nor be an equal to him. He'll be subservient to them. Skipping along, we get to the story of Abram, who will later become named Abraham. And Abraham is a central figure in the shape of the Old Testament, and indeed in Hebrew and Jewish identity, super duper important. And of course, as Christians, we also reckon a lineage through Abraham too. I'm curious, when I was in Sunday school, did y'all go to Sunday school when you were kiddos? Did y'all sing songs in Sunday school? There was one that we sang. It was a silly song. It was a motion song, and it was, you already know it, don't you? Father Abraham, right? Father Abraham had many sons. Many sons had Father Abraham. I am one of them. So are you. We sang that with a straight face or a smiling face in my Christian church. And it was a bunch of Gentiles, right? Because we understand that the scriptures, Christ himself even, point to the idea that the lineage of Abraham is not a lineage reckoned by genetics, but by an inheritance of faith. Those two things went hand in hand for much of history, but were never the same thing, right? But it's an easy thing to conflate, right? Because if you think about the mandates in Scripture of parents, your like foremost responsibility is to pass along the faith that you've received. That was true of Old Testament families. It's still true in the New Testament. Fun fact for you, if you didn't know this, let me just ask you. When the Small Catechism was written by Martin Luther and Melanchthon and Associates, who is it designed to teach, and who is expected to be the teacher? Small Catechism was designed for instruction in the household by the father. He's supposed to teach his family. Small Catechism. You know, in this, in our modern world, we have a very different idea about education. I think, much education is left to the professionals. I think some of that is in fear that you're going to get it wrong. Well, if I teach kids the math that I learned, then they'll never pass the STAR test or whatever, right? Because they're supposed to do dumb math now or whatever. That's a really, really new idea. And it happens a lot in churches too, right? Where people are like, I can't teach my kids God stuff. We need professionals to do that. I don't know God stuff enough. I don't know my Bible well enough. Well, okay, A, you've identified a different problem, right? B, no, you can't just offload the responsibility like that, And I think many churches are upfront about the idea that whatever youth programs they have are meant to assist the parents in the raising of their kids in the faith, but not to replace the role of the parents, right? All that is to say, it was incumbent upon Abraham and Isaac, and it will be upon Jacob, and it will be upon all of the Israelites. Jumping ahead quite a bit, after Genesis comes the book of Exodus, and in the Exodus we get all these festivals, right? And all these traditions that God dictates. And he says, do these generation after generation, right? When you do the Passover, do these things in your household to remember what I have done, right? Write it on the door frames of your house. Write it on your forehead. Like, talk about this stuff in the morning and the evening, right? So it's easy for us to mistake the idea that the promises to Abraham and his children is a matter of genetics. But Scripture is quite clear throughout Old and New Testament that it is not a matter of your blood. It is a matter of faith, whether or not you are part of the people of God. Okay. So anyways, we get the story of Abram. And he receives the call by God to leave his father's house and go somewhere, wherever God tells him to go. And so Abram, being the young spring chicken he is at the age of 75, packs up his wife and his nephew Lot and his wife, and they all head out. And Abram follows where God leads, takes him into Canaan, makes some stops off in Egypt, makes some stops off in some other neighboring lands. He has an up and down journey of faith. Sometimes believing and obeying what God says. God says, get up and go. He says, yes. God says, I will give you descendants as numerous as the stars. And he's like, cool. Until he goes to some place where people might be like eyeing his wife a little bit, and then he just falls apart. Like, oh no, she's my sister. It's fine. Whatever. God uses Abraham and his servants to rout some foreign armies to liberate Lot. Lot makes some really unfortunate real estate choices that lead to some really unfortunate spiritual choices, as Lot settles down in the region of Sodom and kind of builds his family there. And as might not be a surprise, despite the fact that it's a terribly wicked place, they've got roots there and it's hard for them to leave. They kind of accept the culture. God does not accept the culture. He destroys Sodom, and Lot and his daughters make it out. Not his sons-in-law, not his wife. Well, his wife almost makes it out. Meanwhile, the promises to Abraham are reaffirmed over and over again, probably because Abraham needs that. And eventually, at just the right time, when they are both ridiculously too old to have kids, God gives Abraham and Sarah a son. Of course, I've glossed over Abraham's first son, and that is who? Starts with Ishmael, right? He has Ishmael with Sarah's servant girl, Hagar. And again, this is not God's plan. This is them trying to solve problems on God's behalf rather than trusting God to do what he said. And that's going to be a mess. And Ishmael and Isaac do not get along. Hagar and Ishmael have to go off on their own. God does give Abraham and Sarah Isaac, his one and only son with Sarah. And Isaac, God assures him, is the one who will receive all those promises, right? Being made a great nation, blessing the world, all that kind of stuff. And then God says, and now I want you to go sacrifice him to me. Not in a metaphorical way. So Abraham and Isaac walk up the mountain. Everything for the sacrifice except the sacrifice itself, because it's Isaac. And just as Abraham's he lifts the knife, and just as he's about to offer up his one and only son, God stops him and says, "Thank you. You may stop now." And he shows him a substitute to die in Isaac's place, which is the ram with his horns caught in the thicket, which, as I've pointed to a few times for you, I think is a very, very on the nose sort of allusion to Jesus Christ himself, who dies in our place, his head wreathed in thorns on the day of his sacrifice. So Abraham's able to take Isaac home. Isaac is Abraham and Sarah's pride and joy. Sarah passes away. Abraham is overcome with grief and arranges to have her buried in the neighboring land. But then he realizes, Isaac needs a wife. And so rather than marrying off to one of the Canaanite women, he sends his servant back to his homeland to find a nice girl from back home. And y'all remember the story of Rebecca coming out to water the camels, or coming out to get water, and she winds up drawing water for the servant and watering the camels as well. And that's the confirmation that the servant needed from God to say, yes, she is the right one. And long story short, that's when you say too late. Long story short, they bring Rebecca back home, and they are married, and they love each other very much. And Rebecca, in the fullness of time, becomes pregnant, and she has twins, which is wonderful, I suppose. But also, she is told that they are going to struggle with each other, told by God that they are going to struggle with each other, and that the younger will lord over the older. When the time for the birth happens, the first one comes out, red and hairy, full of testosterone, and wearing a football helmet, right? Gun in one hand. It's like the real man's man. And that is Esau. And Esau is going to be Isaac's favorite. But just as Esau's coming out, Jacob the other son, grasped onto Esau's heel and, follows right behind. So these twins are born almost in the same minute, But there is a first, and there's an older and a younger. Apparently, they value those labels a lot because they use them a lot in our story. The older and the younger, guys, it's a minute difference maybe. But that idea that he's grasping at the heel of Esau, while probably literally true, also has a lot of symbolic value too. And that's why he gets called Jacob, right? Because he's the heel grabber, and that's what that means. So a few things that could mean. Number one, it's sort of like Esau is doing the hard work, and Jacob is just sort of reaping the benefits as he's getting towed. But also, there's the idea that he is hot on the heels of Esau, right? He doesn't want to be outdone by Esau. But you could even go a step farther to say it's almost as if he is tripping up Esau, right? If you're in a race and you if you grab the heels of the person in front. We were watching a soccer game yesterday. Really good one. Our team won. But part of the reason that we won is one of our guys is going this way, and there's a defender. The ball's way over there. The defender just reaches out and boom, kicks the guy in the shin. He falls over and gets a penalty. The idea of tripping him up, right? to get ahead. But that didn't work out so well for the guy in the soccer game, and maybe it's not the best strategy for Jacob either. But we get in there, in that moment of their birth, already kind of a preview into what their character is going to be like. Jacob and Esau grow up into being men. What is Esau like? Anybody? What is Esau like? What's that? Either. You can answer either of those. Yeah, he's a hunter, right? He's a very outdoorsy type of guy. What's his character like? What's that? Tim the twin. Who wants more power, but he has no wisdom? Yeah. Yeah, he's short-sighted, right? And unwise and sort of impetuous. And we see that, so what is Jacob like? Yeah, he's more reserved, more of a homebody. Also a bit of a schemer. Esau is Isaac's favorite. Jacob is Rebekah's favorite. Now, is that because Jacob does the stuff that Rebekah's into? They have more in common? Maybe. Or maybe it's, because of the prophecy that she had back when she was pregnant that, the younger is going to be the number one. Maybe those two things go hand in hand. I don't know. So one day, Esau comes in from a day of hunting, and Jacob's been at home cooking with mom, makes a really nice stew. And Esau says, "Bro, give me some stew." Jacob's like, "Sure, man. It'll cost you. Whatever, I'll pay anything. Okay, I want your birthright." Are you kidding me right now? I'm going to die. Give me the stew. Then give me your birthright. Esau says, "Sure, what do I care? What good is a birthright to a dying man? Yes, you can have my birthright, just give me the stew." That's not the guy I want in charge, right? But at the same time, what kind of brother is Jacob here? It's a really ugly exchange. They're really messed up people. And just as a little side note, if we were just going to make up a history for the people of God, the patriarchs of the faith, I would want to paint Jacob in better terms. We're going to say, well, this is the guy that, we all inherited the faith from. This is the guy who's the father of God's people, all that kind of stuff. I would want to paint him in a better light. Jacob, so far, kind of a scumbag. And Esau, kind of a dummy, right? Well, in line with those things. Now, that was just an exchange between Jacob and Esau. I don't know if everybody knows that this transpired yet. In line with Esau's short-sightedness and impulsiveness, that chapter we studied ended with Esau went and got a couple Canaanite wives. They made life miserable for Isaac and Rebekah. But they still let him stay at home. That's where we left off. That's where we left off. Oh wait, did we get to Isaac getting a wife? I don't think we did. Okay. Genesis chapter 27. Isaac blesses Jacob. That's the heading I have. This is probably one of the more famous stories you know from the story of Isaac and Jacob, from Jacob and Esau. I think sometimes this gets conflated with that other story of the stew and the birthright, but these are two separate occasions, which you'll see as we read through it. So, when Isaac was old and his eyes were dim so that he could not see, he called Esau, his older son, and said to him, "My son?" He answered, "Here I am." He said, "Behold, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now then, take your weapons, your quiver, and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me, and prepare for me a delicious food, such as I love, and bring it to me so that I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die." I think there might be something of a custom here that is sort of lost to us. Don't know. You know, the pragmatist in me says, well, why didn't he just bless him right there? So I don't know if this is like, there's a propriety thing that, you know, when one receives a blessing, he had to offer a gift or vice versa. Or, you know, like I don't know if that's the thing. Or, you know, if Isaac's just really old and tired, and he's like, "Look, I want to do this right, but I feel kind of, you know, feel kind of run down. I need a good meal to revive me." I'm not sure, right? It looks like there's something here. It all looks very formal. Um, you know, I have pronounced blessings over you guys hundreds of times. But this seems to be like a very specific thing he's doing. Maybe it's like a spiritual last will and testament kind of situation. I don't know. But it does seem to be like, you know, a specific, kind of like that thing where he put the servant's hand in his, you know, bathing suit area to make the covenant. There might be something to this as well. So anyways, he sends his son off to go hunt for him. Now, he's going to offer this blessing to Esau. One of the questions I had that I don't have an answer to was, did Rebekah ever tell Isaac that God told her the younger would be in charge? Did Rebekah tell Isaac? I guess it's worth exploring both answers, right? So if no, why not? You know? It's one of those things that she just thought, you know, privately kept for herself. Maybe, I don't know, if maybe she came to doubt that it actually happened later, or I don't know. But if she did tell him, then is Isaac about to try and circumvent what God said? Because later when we get to the blessing that he offers, it definitely, he's putting the son he blesses in charge. You'll see that here in a little bit. So there's a weird like disobedience, a weird secrecy, a weird something going on in this situation that, you know, if you don't read the whole story in context, you might miss. My suspicion is that Rebecca probably told him, and that either he forgot, didn't believe her, or, you know, just doing his own, playing his own favorites, right? Speaking of Rebecca, now Rebecca was listening when Isaac spoke to his son Esau. So when Esau went to the field to hunt game and bring it, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "I heard your father speak to your brother Esau. Bring me game and prepare for me delicious food, that I may eat it and bless you before the Lord before I die. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice as I command you. Go to the flock and bring me two good young goats. so that I may prepare from them delicious food for your father, such as he loves. You shall bring it to your father to eat, so that he may bless you before he dies. Somebody tell me back, what's about to happen here? Yeah, it's like fraud, right? Um, so they keep herds, right? So it's not as though Esau would have to hunt to feed his father, but like it's his thing. Esau's a hunter, you know. Which one do you think is going to take more time? Going out and hunting some wild game, or just slaughtering something that's already out in the pasture? Pasture's faster, right? Now, why is Rebecca doing this? Is this just her exercising her own favoritism, or is she trying to ensure the prophecy? Yeah. And in both cases, she's still in the wrong. But it does raise the question of, who does she think is in charge? Or another way to think about that is like, which does she think takes priority? The words of Isaac as he blesses his son, or the promise of God that was delivered to her? From the way that she's acting, she seems concerned that if she doesn't do this deceit, the thing that God promised wouldn't come to pass. As with so many things, particularly through the story of Abram up till now, the thing that leads people into making mistakes and being deceitful in particular seems to be a lack of faith in God to fulfill his promises. Always trying to seize for themselves or protect themselves or whatever, rather than trusting God to do what God said he would do. Do you think Rebecca's deception was necessary to achieve the results that she had hoped for? What is she hoping for? Let's just nail that down real quick. You're way in the back. You gotta speak up a little bit. Yeah, that Jacob would get the blessing and Jacob would be in charge. Right. Did she have to do this deceitful stuff for that to come to pass? You say no. God said it would happen, right? So if she had trusted God to do it God's way, they wouldn't have to do this. What are the consequences of doing it this way? Yeah, these brothers are gonna hate each other, right? I have to think that God probably had a better way to do this. Verse 11. But Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, "Behold, my brother Esau is a hairy man. and I am a smooth man. A smooth criminal, if you will. Perhaps my father will feel me, and I shall seem to be mocking him, and bring a curse upon myself and not a blessing. If Jacob was a man of character, what he would have said is, Mom, this isn't right. Maybe we should just remind Dad about what God said to you. That's not Jacob's style, right? Jacob is a deceiver. He's a schemer. He's going to just do what he thinks is right to get the results that he wants. So he and his mom are in lockstep. The only concern Jacob has is, let's make sure that I don't get caught. His mother said to him, let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go bring them to me. So he went and took them and brought them to his mother. His mother prepared delicious food, such as his father loved. Then Rebekah took the best garments of Esau, her older son, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. And the skins of the young goats she put on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. And she put the delicious food and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. So these goats are being killed for their meat and also for their fur. I have a hard time picturing this story because, look, I'm a fairly hairy guy, right? Not the hairiest, but my arms are, whatever. You would never mistake my dog for my hair, right? What does this Esau guy look like? Chewbacca, yeah. Maybe. I don't know. It's wild. Who knows? Maybe she thinned out the hairs. I don't know. But that's just wild to think about, right? So she makes him some kind of coverings for his arms, for the back of his neck. Makes the food, makes it real good. And Mom is so convinced that this is the right thing that she's willing to bear the curse herself. But that seems like a very mom thing to do, How many mothers would endure the punishment on behalf of their children? I'm not saying always, and I'm not saying it's the right thing necessarily. So here you go, verse 14. So he went and took them and brought them to his mother, and his mother so he went to his father and said, my father. I kind of wonder if he went, my father, my father, So he said, my father. And he said, here am I. Who are you, my son? Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Now sit up and eat my game, that your soul may bless me. But Isaac said to his son, how is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? Busted, right? But it has to be done quickly. If it's not done quickly, what will happen? Esau will come back, yeah. So he's got to do it while Esau's gone. And the margins here are actually pretty fine, which we'll see. So he says, how is it you found it so quickly, my son? He answered, because the Lord your God granted me success. Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Please come near that I may feel you, my son, to know whether you are really my son Esau or not." Okay. Skipping ahead a little bit. Jacob will have a name change. Do you know what his name is changed to? Happens when he wrestles an angel. Was that Israel? When we're talking about Jacob, we are talking about the progenitor of Israel, the one from whom the people of God will receive their name. All right? Got that in mind? Not only is he deceiving his father, he's invoking the name of the Lord to do it. If you've ever wondered what it means to take the Lord's name in vain, I know a lot of times we just say, "Don't cuss." Well, "don't cuss" is good advice, and using your words foolishly or in a way that is harmful or hurtful to people, those are all sins. However, this would be a prime example of using the Lord's name in vain, right? He's stealing the credibility of God to deceive someone. He also didn't say the Lord my God. That's true. And I think there is probably something to that as well. Now, this could just be part of the tactical deception, right? To say, well, because God favors you, he gave me success quickly because you're hungry. So, it could be that. But there also could be that idea that he's sort of keeping God at arm's length. He's like, well, it's your God, not my God. I don't know if that's true, but it could be. He will, in due time, come to find out that it is, in fact, his God, too. But we haven't really got to that part of the story yet. Okay, so moving along. "Please come near that I may feel you, my son, to know whether you are really my son Esau or not." So Jacob went near to Isaac his father, who felt him and said, "The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau." Y'all remember the story of Little Red Riding Hood? Grandmother, what big eyes you have. What big teeth you have, right? It's kind of that, like something doesn't feel right about this. This is the third red flag that Isaac has raised, right? You got here so quickly. The voice is all wrong. Let me make sure that you're not, smooth. Make sure that you're hairy orangutan child. Well, man. Jacob just deceit upon deceit upon deceit, right? All right, so he, voice, and he did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. He said, "Are you really my son Esau?" He answered, "I am." Then he said, "Bring it near to me, that I may eat of my son's game and bless you." So he brought it near to him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Come near and kiss me, my son." So he came near and kissed him. Isaac smelled the smell of his garments and blessed him. We'll get to the blessing here in just a second. You can see Isaac is just testing every step of the way. Like, oh, does he feel right? Does he smell right? And every one of those questions was an opportunity for Jacob to say, no, actually, Dad, just kidding, or whatever, right? It just keeps getting deeper and deeper into deceit here. So here's the blessing that he said. See, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you the dew of heaven and of the fatness of the land, and plenty of grain and wine. Let peoples serve you, and let nations bow to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you. I would say, for most of that blessing, it was all actually fair game. Most of that blessing would have been absolutely fine for Isaac to give to Esau, or for Isaac to mistakenly give to Jacob. Because none of that, the first part, flies in the face of what God had to say to Rebekah about the two sons. But when we get to, be Lord over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you, either we have Jacob speaking in ignorance of the promise that God gave to Rebekah about the younger son, or he's speaking in defiance of it. But in either regard, he's talking to the wrong son anyways. So yeah, God's pronouncement does come to pass through this blessing. You'll remember a few minutes ago I was saying that there does seem to be a sort of formality to all of this. Like it's a very fixed thing. Because once it's been said, you'll see he can't unsay it. I think we're going to revisit this next week. I'm just going to hit this last bit of this, and then we'll revisit this next week. Let everybody who blesses you be blessed, and everybody who curses you be cursed. That's an enduring idea that we hold on to, sort of even to this day, really, the idea that, like, it's actually upon God to repay the enemies of God's people, right? So those who bless the people of God are in turn blessed, right? And that does happen. You know, they enjoy peace. They enjoy some level of prosperity. Those who curse it are likewise cursed, right? In Christ, this gets to be a little bit different, right? Not entirely different, but a little different. So, like, we'll read about Jesus saying, whoever welcomes a prophet receives the reward of a prophet, right? And likewise, he who rejects you rejects me, and the one who rejects me rejects the one who sent me, right? So again, there is no path to favor with God that includes rejecting the people of God. But that's it for now. We got 10 minutes before church, so we'll call that good. We'll finish up the chapter. Yeah, we still got some space. We'll finish up the chapter next week and maybe go on even farther. Thank you so much. Go freshen up your coffee. Do what you need to do. Moms, if you didn't get a flower yet, go get yourself a flower and come on back here for worship.